Hey guys, this is going to be the voiceover for Chapter 4, 6, and 11. And as I said, in Chapter 4 you only had to read those pages on female crime forward. So I'm just going to skim through this PowerPoint, and you can go back and look at it as you want if you want additional information. But Chapter 4 is on the distribution of crime, and you should actually see this chapter in almost every criminal justice book you have in this program. There's always a portion of it within. So why do we explain crime? Or what do we need to know to explain crime? Who's committing it? Who's victimized? Where it occurred? When it occurred? By who? Geographic is great too. And if I have a dog bark, I'll stop it. Okay, as soon as I can. We're babysitting a little dog from next door, and she tends to bark. Okay, you can check this out. These are the index crimes reported in 2012. This is the information that came from those agencies in Chapter 3. You can actually, 2012, I'm pretty sure online, if you go to the UCR, you can see through 15 or maybe 16 now. Again, non-index crimes reported in 2010. I would suggest, again, going online if you wanted more updated arrest. We use this information as a researcher, as I was telling you in class. This is what we use, and then we derive our own research study in order to see how it's affected. Or when we have policymakers create new policies, this is what we do. We go back and look at our data to see if there's any improvement. So data is distributed by Geographics. I'm not sure if that came through or not, but the National Crime Victimization Survey is another type of data that we can use to measure, still measure violent crime, property crimes, white-collar crimes. Again, it can be by geographical distribution. Okay, here we are. We're going to get into the part that I asked you to read, but we also look at crime distributed by gender. So in 2012, females accounted for 26% of all arrests, and what we see over time is that males always commit more crime than females, and especially violent crimes. Now here's the section that I wanted you to read, because it's just important to look at the explanations of female crime, since it's so understudied and underreported. When I mentioned this in class, when women commit crime, they do so in their roles as women, and usually it takes the built up, and the crime that they commit when it's violence is usually extreme. Typically, females kill relatives or romantic partners, and usually the weapons are kitchen instruments. It's that which is close to them. The rise in female crime, should it be attributed to the women's liberation movement? I'm skeptical on that, but the data does show that that did occur. When women work outside the home, within the workforce, they are then exposed to the same criminogenic factors that men, and therefore it increases their risk to offend. Female arrests for index crimes, as you can see, increased from 73 to 2012, and if you look again, I'm pretty sure it's gone up since 2012. Before the liberation, the explanations that we use revert back to the power and control model of delinquency that suggests that females commit less crime because they were more closely monitored by parents. They had a different geographic and a different role in the community. They were more under control from the parents and even the male siblings in the home. And again, if you look at the UCR, you see that female crime has increased, whereas male crime has actually gone down. I want you to think about, why do you think this is? The NCVS data reveals a greater level of participation in violent crime by females than the UCR statistics. And what these are, now look, these are two different agencies that have collected information. The UCR is Uniform Crime Reports. That's crimes that are reported. The victimization survey is coming from victims, so it might not necessarily be reported crimes, and the number of crimes is always higher in the victimization surveys. We've talked a lot about this in other classes, and we will in here, that youths usually account for a high percentage of crime, but not as high as what the media usually portrays. And we have found, and I have found through all my research, that as children get older, they usually age out of crime. They'll increase until they hit their 20s, and then really as they get older, they just quit offending. And here's another support of what I said from Gofferson and Hershey, that criminal involvement peaks at age 16 and 17 and then steadily declines thereafter. There's a difference between the criminal career and the career criminal. The habitual offender that just continues their whole life committing crimes is the career criminal. As we know, race is very disproportionate by minorities within our system. The data from UCR data, that African Americans account for 38.5%. This is arrest. So why is that? Is that because African Americans are committing more crimes, or is that because we're arresting more African Americans? And African Americans are also likely to receive a prison sentence over another race. And I don't think I had you read this section in the book, but it's just another discussion from Miller and Olin and Merton and Anderson about social class. And is the police more likely to arrest someone from a lower class? Does it depend on who will call the police, lower class, upper class, who's more likely to call? Those are just some good studies that they did.